Hello everyone and welcome to another Heroes of the Grid Ranger video. As mentioned in the last one, today I'm going to be going over Tommy Oliver, the Mighty Morphin Green Ranger. Now Tommy's deck has the standard layout of 3 1-shield cards, 4 2-shield cards, and 3 3-shield cards. Tommy actually has 3 different character abilities. Tommy's first character card is Loner. If you are the only player with a ranger in your location, you may add 1 die to each of your attacks. So Tommy is a character that you don't necessarily want him to be alone all the time, but if he does happen to find himself alone, then he can handle himself better than some others. His next ability is Gift of the Dragon. Gift of the Dragon reads, once per battle, you may place 1 card from your hand on another ranger's character card. That ranger may play that card as if it were in their hand. Place that card on the bottom of your deck after it resolves. And finally, his last character card that was released for the Once and Always special is Legends Never Die. Its ability says, when you discard a card for defense, another ranger may add that card to their hand. For each ranger with at least 1 of your cards in their hand, add 1 die to each of your attacks. Return those cards to your discard pile when played or when the battle ends. So as you can see, you have lots of options for how you want to play Tommy. And as we go through his deck, you'll see that all of his cards can work with any of these. His first card is Dagger Solo. It's a 1-cost maneuver with 1 shield for defense. Its ability says, for the rest of this battle, the energy cost of all combat cards is reduced by 1. Now it's not just attack cards, but maneuvers and reactions. Everything gets reduced by 1 for the rest of the battle. That's a very powerful effect for 1 cost. So let's say you play Jason's Team Tactics. You gain 1 energy, and another ranger may immediately play another card. You play Tommy's Dagger Solo, and so the energy you gained from Jason's card pays for the Dagger Solo, and now all of your cards are reduced by 1. Which pretty much means that everything except your power weapons is a 0-cost card now. For most rangers, actually, not just the Mighty Morphin. Of course, since it's a maneuver, you don't actually do any damage with the card, so you're most likely going to be taking a hit from an enemy card right after you play this, but still, it's a small price to pay. Tommy's next card is Dragon Rush, a 1-cost attack, 2 shields for defense. Its attack is 1, you roll 1 die, and after you resolve this attack, you may perform a second attack with 2 dice. So if you had, let's say, Tommy's Loner, if you were by yourself, the first attack becomes 2 dice, and you may, with the ability that attacking with 2 more dice, you get a third one due to Tommy's Loner ability, so you're rolling for 3 dice. And again, if you use Dagger Solo beforehand, this is a free card. It doesn't cost you anything for basically 2 attacks. Tommy's next card is Solo Strike, a 0-cost, 2-dice attack with 2 shields for defense. Its ability says, before rolling, you may remove 1 die from this attack. If you do, return this card to your hand instead of discarding it after this attack resolves. Again, with Tommy's Loner ability, this becomes a 3-dice attack. So you can remove 1 to get it down to its normal 2-dice attack and keep it in your hand, or if you want to just keep it at 3, that's really up to you, however you want to play the turn. Very useful, and this can be easily powered up with something like the Tyrannosaurus to give it 2 extra dice, so you can remove 1, so you're still getting 3 dice. Tommy's next card is the Dragon Shield. It's a 1-cost reaction card with 3 shields for defense. Its ability reads, play this card when any ranger suffers damage to reduce that damage by 3. The next time you perform an attack during this battle, add 1 die to that attack. You may notice that this card is the exact same as Jason's Dragon Shield that I mentioned in his video. And it is. The only difference is that this card has to go in Tommy's deck because it's labeled Mighty Morphin Green on the bottom. But it's still a great card, especially, again, if you use the Dagger Solo card first. And now you can reduce any ranger's damage by 3 for free, and you get an extra die to the next attack. Well, the next time you perform an attack during this battle, I should clarify. So Tommy has to perform the next attack, but if you were to block any ranger's defense, again, you could use the Solo Strike. If you're already by yourself, you're getting 3, plus the Dragon Shield effect, you're rolling 4 dice. You can remove it to keep it in your hand, or you can use Dragon Rush to roll for 2 dice Well, 3 if you're using your loner ability, and then you roll a second attack with 2 dice. That second attack isn't affected by any additional anything that would add dice to the first attack does not apply to the second attack because they're 2 separate attacks. Now, that may seem obvious. There is some confusion with one of Tommy's cards coming up. That's why I wanted to kind of make that distinction. All right, next we have the Blade Blaster, which is an X cost special attack. 1 shield for defense. Its ability reads, this attack deals an amount of damage equal to the amount of energy spent to play this card. You may divide this damage among any number of targets. So even though Tommy didn't have a Blade Blaster in the series, he still gets one in the card game. He did technically use one when he fought against the Rangers. He stole one from one of the others, but he didn't have one himself. But anyway, it's just Blade Blaster, the exact same as all the other Mighty Morphin team. It's still a good card, but it's nothing. I've already explained it before, so I'm not going to really talk about it. Finally, Tommy's power weapon is the Dragon Dagger. A 3-cost, 3 dice attack with 3 shields for defense. Its ability reads, perform this attack twice. You may choose a new target for the second attack. Any effects applied to the first attack apply to both attacks. See, now this is the card that's very confusing. It's the same as Jason's Dragon Dagger, except I believe in the initial printing of Dragon Dagger it didn't have the additional details in parentheses here. I think it read just like Jason, so it says perform this attack twice, and that led to a lot of confusion, so that's why they included it. I believe they included this in the future prints of Tommy's cards. Basically, unlike the other card that we were talking about, Dragon Rush, where let's say if you would use the Tyrannosaurus to add 2 dice to that attack, the second attack still can only be performed with 2 dice. With the Dragon Dagger, if you use the Tyrannosaurus, you're rolling 5 dice for the first attack, and then the second attack still gets those 2 dice, so you're performing 2 5-dice rolls. And the reason for this is because you're performing this attack twice. It's 1 attack 2 times. It's not 2 separate attacks. Even though it says in parentheses for the first attack and second, it says second and first, but really it's the exact same attack. It's just the attack's done twice. I know it's very confusing, but that's why they put the parentheses in there. It's a really powerful card. Especially, again, if you use the Tyrannosaurus, pump it up to 5, you get 2 5-dice attacks. And like it says, you can choose a second target. You can have 2 separate targets. You could take out 2 foot soldiers, 2 enemy cards. This can really do some damage if you're lucky and you roll pretty good. Now, I've been talking about these Tommy's cards in terms of the loner ability. That's because the loner card was Tommy's first character card that came out. Gift of the Dragon came out in Tommy's character pack, the Tommy Oliver Ranger pack, and the Legends Never Die came with the Runts and Always collection. So it's a little more powerful than the other cards just because, as mentioned before, those cards were released just for fun, so they're a little more powerful than the normal character abilities. But Gift of the Dragon is also, actually, the more I read it, it's a very good card. That one's definitely one you probably want to use if you plan on playing with more people, like sticking with them rather than going off on your own, because you can give them a card and they can play it from their hand. It still goes to the bottom of it goes back to the bottom of your deck, so you can you're not lowering your deck for too long if you use that ability. I mean, you could even give it to a ranger in one battle, and it doesn't say he has to return at the end of the battle, like the Legends Never Die. So unless I'm wrong, the ranger could still keep that card, take it, move to another location, keep it with them for any future battles until they finally use it. Then it goes back to the bottom of your deck. It's very versatile. I'm 99% sure this picture of Gift of the Dragon is when they teamed up with the Ninja Turtles. I think that's Leo's head bandana on the corner there. Yeah. And actually, I'll clarify that this next team of Rangers I'm doing, I wanted to use all the extra Rangers that came between the Kickstarter exclusive deluxe box and the Shattered Grid expansion. And I completely forgot while I was doing that the Rebel Ranger Slayer was one of the extra Rangers that came in the Kickstarter exclusive. So I replaced her with Dragon Shield Jason, who came in the Kickstarter deluxe box, as I mentioned in Jason's video. But it turned out to work out really well because that team was really powerful, and I'll break them down more so after I'm done with Tommy. I'll get to the rest of them, and then I'll talk about them all together as a team. But before I close this out, I need to talk about Tommy's Zord, the Dragon Zord. Its ability reads, exhaust this card when any ranger defeats an enemy card with an attack to deal excess damage from that attack to another enemy card of your choice. So let's say you're rolling against a 2 health enemy, and a monster card only needs like 1 hit left, and the only card you have in your hand is at least a 3 dice attack. So you roll 3 dice, you get, let's say, 5. You roll a 5, you get really lucky, and you only need 1 of them, and you're thinking, oh, what a waste, because I just rolled 4 extra. Now you can use the Dragon Zord to deal those 4 extra hits that you didn't need against this monster against any other enemy card. It doesn't matter if it's guarded or not. Yeah, I mean, it's just a really good card. It helps a lot. Of course, most of the time with me, whenever I get the Dragon Zord, I almost never get anything more than 1 extra damage that I could spread, which, can make all the difference, but I'd rather save it for at least 2 or 3. And let's see, for Green Ranger, that was the only Zord he ever piloted. So that's the only Zord he has access to. But yeah, that's Tommy. He's got lots of options. He's a very good ranger to use on your own or in a team. Now, keep in mind, just because his vulnerability works best alone doesn't mean you want to run off and fight a monster by yourself, because more than likely you're going to die if you try to fight a monster on your own, just because they tend to attack first and they do big damage. So, like Tommy himself, he would often find himself fighting alone. Maybe the foot soldiers, the henchmen, he can handle a few of those by himself, but when it comes to the monsters, he always wants to be with his team in order to help them. And even though his vulnerability won't help if he's with anyone else, his dagger solo is a real boon to the Rangers whenever they have him in battle. And yeah, that's pretty much Tommy. So I haven't decided who I'm going to talk about next, but to look forward to that though, because I have at least 3 other Rangers to talk about. Since I use Dragon Shield Jason, I might touch on him a little bit in one of the videos, but since I talked about him in Jason's character video, I probably won't dedicate another video to him. Actually, one last thing I want to mention for Tommy is the layout of his deck. Tommy has 2 Dagger Solo cards, 2 Dragon Shield cards, 2 Dragon Rush cards, 2 Solo Strike cards, 1 Blade Blaster, and 1 Power Dagger. That's the layout of Tommy's deck. Anyway, thanks for watching. Head on over to oncearanger.com to check out the full card database, and let me know what you want to see in the future in the comments below. Thank you.